Hey, my name's Neil. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Thanks for joining me. Today's video is about me learning how to do backside disasters on a mini ramp. Alright, so backside disasters, quite a popular trick these days. Everybody seems to want to learn them. And it also seems like a lot of people learn them very quickly, so it must be quite a straightforward trick, right? Well, that depends. That depends a lot on you as a person individually. Like with pretty much every trick, some tricks come to people quicker than others. Different tricks come to people quicker than others. But it seems to be quite a fundamental mini ramp trick, and I'd never really put an awful lot of time into trying to learn them. I think partly because they're so popular now that it's almost become, I don't know, not boring, but it's just sort of an average trick. So I always try and go after the tricks that I always wanted to learn as a younger skater back in the late 80s, early 90s. But it seems like such a straightforward trick, why not just have a go at doing them? For quite some time now, I've occasionally sort of tried to throw one out there and just see what happens. And, you know, sometimes they kind of happen, but most often not. But as I say, I wasn't really that interested in spending a lot of time on them. And so when I sort of throw them up there, you know, I don't pursue it and try and chase it to refine them into one of my tricks that I can do all the time. Now that's a different story for frontside disasters. I really wanted to do those because I wanted to do frontside lip slides. And so fairly recently, in the last year or so, I've got those, and I've got lip slides as well pretty well. You know, they happen maybe 50% of the time, but I'll do another video about those. But today we're talking backside. Now there's a few different ways to do a backside disaster. Seemingly the most popular at the moment seems to be a bit of a like scoop rather than an ollie. So what is a backside disaster? You're heading towards the coping, you do a 180 ollie and you land on your rails in a kind of rock position, and then you can rock back in again. So it's pretty much a backside 180 ollie to rock. But what seems to be a fairly popular way to do it these days is just to kind of scoop your back wheels and turn really quickly, and the wheels kind of scrape their way over the coping and land in that rock position. So it's more of a scoop, a 180 scoop to rock. I don't like the look of those. I don't want to learn how to do those. For me, a decent disaster, you should go up and pop off the coping and turn 180 in midair and land down on the coping in the rock position. So a lot of people do this kind of like tail scoop thing and just kind of very quickly 180 kick turn, and their back wheels end up over the coping onto the platform and then go back in. But I don't like the look of that. I don't think it looks very stylish, not in my sort of tastes anyway. I'm sure people will disagree and think that that looks more stylish. You go ahead. I personally want to pop the coping, so I want to let my back wheels hit the coping and pop me up in the air and then turn and land down. So much more like a 180 ollie, but you don't really need to put your tail down to sort of fully do an ollie. In my mind, it's very similar to when people talk about bonking the coping for a backside air. So my methodology is to head towards the coping as fast as possible, pop my back wheels, so I'm lifting up before I get to the coping, letting my back wheels pop the coping, and that's what kind of bounces me up and allows me to 180 and twist your shoulders 180, and basically do a backside 180 ollie and land down on the coping. Now the thought process is one thing, but actually putting it into practice is a hard thing in itself. And there's a few things you've got to bear in mind when you're doing it like this. You obviously need to be going fast enough with enough energy to sort of bang against the coping enough to pop you up. So there's the pop and then the height of the pop. And so in my mind, I'm trying to head upwards. As I hit the coping, I try and jump upwards and 180. And it's my speed of heading towards the coping that pushes me over the coping and my back wheels over the coping onto the platform. So I'm not actually thinking about trying to get out of the ramp. I'm thinking about trying to stay in the ramp, but go fast enough to have the impact of my pop send me upwards. And so there's that side of it, that's the pop. The second part of it is the rotation, so you really need to rely on your shoulders, and it's always the same in skateboarding. Whatever your shoulders do, the rest of your body does. So as I'm heading towards the coping, I'm obviously sideways on, riding towards the coping. As I pop, I need to rotate my shoulders and turn my head to look back into the ramp, and that hopefully brings the rest of my body around. And you can practice that sort of thing by just doing backside ollie 180s on flat ground. Just doing the ollie, let your shoulders and head turn as you land, and that's pretty much what I'm doing as I hit the coping. So as I bounce the coping, I'm turning my shoulders and my head and looking back down into the ramp, and at the same time just kind of lifting my knees, bending my knees and pulling my feet up into my torso to get the clearance, and that seems to generally work. So anyway, that's enough yakking. Let's have a look at the clips. And from there onwards, for me, it's just all about getting the rotation right, making sure that my leading shoulder comes round enough and points back into the ramp. Quite often I'm coming round and I'm 10 degrees out from making a full 180 rotation. Part of that is maybe not going straight on enough. I tend to do a little bit of an alley-oop as I do my rotation, and I feel like that helps me rotate, but also at the same time it means that I've got to rotate very slightly further because I'm kind of going out and then back in again. So it's putting more on me to rotate further, but it feels to me it helps me to rotate. The thing I'm battling against is the feeling of over-rotating. I hate the feeling of over-rotating because if you over-rotate, you end up looking, you know, your body comes around and you're over-rotated, but you sort of end up looking back over your shoulder, and I hate that feeling of falling backwards without control. If I'm falling forwards, I've always feel like I've got control, but if I over-rotate and start falling backwards, I hate that feeling, and so I'm probably holding off from over-rotating, which isn't really helping me complete the full rotation. So the more I do, I think the more I will relax about the rotation. I'm definitely not over-rotating, I'm under-rotating, but there's always that feeling in the back of my head that is obviously stopping me from going a bit further. Now looking at the clips, you might think that I'm going too fast and that's what's sending me out of the ramp, and you know, my front wheels are just about missing. Quite often I'm bashing my front truck on the coping, kind of doing a pivot as I come round rather than staying in the ramp enough to let my truck go over and land on the rails. It's definitely a thing, and all that I can do is keep doing more and more of them, and I start to relax a bit better and the rotation gets better. I don't think I'm going too fast. I need the speed to feel comfortable. Going too slow, I don't feel like I'll pop properly, but that's just me, and I have to do it the way that I feel will eventually get there. It's just a slow refinement. It takes me ages to learn tricks, maybe because of my stubbornness about how I want to do them, but when I get them, I am happy about the way that I get them. It just takes a little longer. So I skateboard for me, not for anyone else, so all I can do is please myself, and I hope that's what everybody else will do as well. So there you go. I mean, I'm pretty much there. As I mentioned before, that rotation just needs to come around a little bit more. I need to get this shoulder round, and I need to look back into the ramp a bit better. I'm sort of looking very slightly too far shy of the full rotation, so it's all about getting this shoulder. Quite often what I do is like actually point my arm where I want to go. So if I'm not rotating around enough, if it's coming around this far, if I point over there, it kind of helps with the rotation. And that's a good tip for everything. Anytime you're under rotating something, you need to make sure that your shoulders are going the full distance, and a good way to do that is point your arm, because it pushes your body around. So that's what I need to do more of. But you know, I just about got some there just in the time I had in that session, and I was feeling pretty good about them. As I said before, this is probably, quite honestly, the most time I've ever spent trying to do them. I never really spent enough time on them because I don't really feel like it's that much of an amazing trick, but you know, it's one of those stepping stones, so I need to do them more often, and maybe that will turn into some backside lip slides eventually. But anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you found the video interesting. Let me know if you're learning them too, and also you might be interested in some of my other progression videos, so take a look at these, and I will see you again very soon. Thanks for watching. Take care.